We're live.
Welcome to the Lost Together podcast. I'm Joe, and this is still my attempt, very near the end of season 3, to convince Morgan that Lost is one of the greatest television shows ever written, produced, acted in, shot in Hawaii, and taken turns for the better in the backstory part of the genre, where we got to see the backstory of my favorite character this week in season 3, episode 20, The Man Behind the Curtain.
Yeah, and I called it, I'm pretty sure last week you asked me who it was about, and I said, Ben, and I was right.
It originally aired on May the 9th, 2007, and it is the 69th episode overall of Lost. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this episode for a while, but only because, not that it's a fantastic episode, like there's some good stuff about it, but the reason I've been looking forward to it specifically is I'm a Ben stan. Big fan. So, trust me, there's a lot more to go in this series, and this is just the beginning. So, what did you think about The Man Behind the Curtain?
I thought it was good. I appreciated the backstory for Ben. I already knew, I guess I've got a nose for, like, dudes with self-esteem issues. A little bit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
A little.
No.
Well, not self-esteem issues, but, like, just deeply misunderstood.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously you're not like Ben, because Ben is trying really hard to pretend to be the man that he absolutely is not. And you have always tried to, you know, you're a lot softer on the inside than you act like you are.
I was like, how deep are we getting here?
Not that deep.
On our frothy
No.
little podcast about, like...
Should we start over?
No.
Okay.
It's okay.
That's what I mean. I clocked Ben. I don't think that I'm special because I clocked Ben, because I think he's written that way. You just know it about him, that he is inside a sad, scared, lonely man with some deep issues. And so we got a taste of those issues today, and no surprise, mommy issues, daddy issues. Every problem that you have, you can trace it back to your parents. People, go to therapy.
Which is really makes me look forward to my kids growing up.
I know. Oh my God.
So that at some Thanksgiving or another, they can talk about how Daddy had his headphones in a lot, which I do.
Yeah.
You know,
And mommy always had her phone in her hand. Like,
they got, our kids' generation's going to have a whole new set of trauma. Not the same stuff that we had. They'll have their own thing. It'll be phone related, probably. Technology.
Yeah.
But either way, that was not Ben's problem.
No.
So let's get right into Ben's problem as we do our recap of The Man Behind the Curtain.
yeah. So, hilarious to me that Ben's dad is Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, which I did not clock immediately.
You know what, Napoleon? You can leave.
Bet I could throw a pigskin over them mountains.
Not only Uncle Rico from Napoleon, but also
The bad guy from White Lotus.
Greg Gary from White Lotus.
Yeah. But, so, Uncle Rico, and I'm going to call him his name in the episode because, bleh, but to me, in my heart and my soul, he's Uncle Rico forever. But Roger and his wife, whose name I can't remember, are traipsing through the woods. It looks to be...
Emily.
It looks to be the same jungle or whatever. It's not. It's Portland. But she goes into labor and has a baby out there. Because what better place to have a baby than the wilderness? That's the second baby we've seen be born amongst the trees. You know what I'm saying? So...
You talking about Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron was born out in the woods. So, anyway, Roger is carrying Emily out. She's had the baby. Carries her out to the road. Old Percy Wetmore from the Green Mile, who I think is the worst villain in TV and movie history. Percy Wetmore is the most evil. It makes me sick to my stomach to think of him.
Babe, they've made movies about Hitler.
Yeah. I'm talking about in movie history, not in real life.
Yeah, so you mean like fictional characters?
Yeah, in a movie. I think Percy Wetmore is detestable. That anyway.
Oh, while Bill takes care of him in the prison there.
Doesn't matter. Not before he friggin' jacks Edward Delacroix up.
Yeah.
Evil man. But yeah, I was so.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen The Green Mile.
If you haven't seen The Green Mile by now, you're not gonna watch it. It's a great movie, and you should though.
That actor's name is Doug Hutchison, and he was also incredible in I Am Sam.
Oh my god!
He was. Incredible.
It's such a good movie.
So he did a really good job with I Am Sam.
Oh, that's such a good. I think I've only seen it one time. I want to watch it more than that. I don't know that I can.
Huge mistakes that were huge.
God, she wants some new shoes.
Wrecked.
God. Anyway, so he picks him up on the side of the road, and as Roger is about to put Emily in the car, she goes, "Name him Benjamin." Dies. Done. So now Roger's left with this brand new baby, and he's not the mom. And I think that if you're going to be a parent of a newborn or any child, and one of the kids is going to die, or one of the parents is going to die, it sucks the most for the dads, I think.
Okay,
For the mom to die.
I was really worried about what was about to come out of your mouth at the end of that. I thought you were going to say, if one of the parents is going to die, you want it to be the dad.
No. For a newborn baby, and the mom dies, it would be terrible for either parent, obviously, but moms have a biological function for newborns.
Yeah, they got a formula for that now, though.
Now, yeah.
I would say that, it would be bad, but as soon as the girls were born, I tried to be as active as I could.
Yeah, oh God. If it hadn't been for Joe, I wouldn't have survived Coraline being a baby, and she was an easy baby.
Oh, yeah. Our youngest was the easiest of the three. But I tried to be active pretty quick, but you're right. It would be worse for the dad, for sure.
I would think so.
For sure.
I would think that it would be. Anyway, she dies. So then we fast forward, and then Ben is now probably
7.
Oh, he's 7? I was going to say he was 13.
Well, it's 7 years from that to the island, so.
That boy was not 7 years
old.
old.
Yeah, that actor was at least 9.
I think he was older than that. Anyway, he's still got his little gold rimmed glasses. I thought that was cute. And he's, his old Roger is a drunk, and he drinks all the time, and he's mean as hell.
The actor that played Ben was 12 at the time that he
told
played
you 13. So. Man, I was right on it. I knew it. Okay. Anyway, Roger is really mean to Ben, and on this day that they come onto the island on the submarine, and Percy Wetmore is there, and he's like, "Welcome to Dharma, it's a commune, and we love each other, and we're doing science and whatever."
His name is Horace Goodspeed.
Horace. So, well, that's a good name for him. Friggin' fuck you, Percy.
It is a good name for him.
Is it an anagram?
No. Keep going.
Okay. Well, yeah, they, they're like kumbaya, whatever. So then Roger gets assigned to workman. So his little jumper was Roger Workman. He's a workman. Because he's unskilled or whatever.
Yeah, so not workman like you would have originally thought.
Yeah. So that's the skeleton from the car, which we, of course, find that out later. But anyway, he's pissed about being unskilled labor. Pissed.
Yes.
So, that makes him even more mad. So then he drinks even more. And so on Ben's birthday, bless his heart, Ben, comes in the house, and Roger's like, "I don't really want to celebrate the day you killed your mom." So, poor Ben. God bless him. And the thing is, when Ben came in, Roger was passed out on the couch with a beer can in his hand, and
Ben's cleaning up after
Yeah, he
him,
gently took the can out of his hand and was trying to take his boots off, taking care of Roger. And he's like, "You killed your mom." Hate him. Why can't that guy play a decent man in anything he's in? He's Uncle Rico, Greg, and Roger.
Which is funny that Uncle Rico is the most decent of the three of those.
He is.
He's not a decent person, but he's the most decent of the three of those, for sure.
Oh, well, Uncle Rico's just a hustler.
You know what, Napoleon? You can leave.
He's selling the breast enlargement pills to teenagers. Oh, it's so funny. Anyway, so Ben takes off running after that, which if you would. He runs into the forest and he gets to the pylons where the force field is, and his mom is on the other side. And he yells out, "Mom, Mom," because he's seen a picture of her, so he knows what she looks like. And she says, "It's not time." And then she walks back into the woods. And I guess Horace had given them a heads up about the pylons and what they do and all that. So he's like, "Don't go out there." He was telling them that there's hostels on the island. So they, in their schools, were doing, in America, what our kids do, active shooter drills. Mm-hmm. And they're doing that on the island for the hostels because the hostels don't like them there. I don't know. But anyway, so
there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there's a little girl that is so sweet. She reminds me of Jenny from Forrest Gump. She's so nice to Ben. She carves him out these little dolls, and she's like, "This one's me and this one's you," and she gives them to him for his birthday. So Ben figures out a way to turn off the pylons later, gets out there in the woods. He's chasing after his mom. It was a different time though, right? He went out, saw her, went back home, came back to chase her, turned off the pylons, and then Richard Alpert caught him out there. Mm-hmm. And Ben's like, "You're a hostile, right?" And Richard's like, "Is that what they're calling us?" And then Ben's like, "I want to come and live with you." And Richard says, "Well, if you want to do that, you have to be very, very patient." Ben's like, "Okay." I bet he thought a week maybe. No, Ben's a full-grown man now. He's I'd say 20s, early 20s. It's his birthday again. So obviously Ben has got some trauma around his birthday. Understandable. Him and his dad are supposed to take some shit somewhere up into the woods, and they get in the Shambhala van and they drive it on up, and then Ben Roger's like, "We can have some bonding, father-son bonding time." Ben's like, "That would be nice." They get in the van, they get up to the top of the hill, and then Ben's like, "Do you really blame me for mom dying?" And then Roger's like, "What do I know?" And he's like, "I'm really sorry. I'll try really hard to remember your birthday next year." And Ben he's like, "Don't worry about it." And he puts on a gas mask, gasses that motherfucker, and leaves him. So that's why there's a rotten skeleton in the van. It's Ben's dad.
Who he killed.
And then he goes back to the village and everybody's dead.
So, yet another daddy issue person, if we're keeping score, there's a lot of them.
That's what I'm saying. All your troubles, you can pinpoint it back to one or more parent.
Yeah, are any of them Kate's is her mom, kind of.
Her stepdad?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to think if any...
Well, and her dad is absentee or whatever.
Is anybody's mom the issue for Lost? I mean, no, Sawyer's
Sawyer, I was going to say, Sawyer's mom had the affair which caused the murder or whatever. But,
anyway.
I mean, his dad caused the murder, but you know what I'm saying.
So Ben goes back to camp.
And everybody's dead. But we don't know if Jenny, who I don't remember her name, but she reminds me of Jenny from Forrest Gump. We don't know for a fact that she's dead, but everybody else is dead. And so Richard Alpert comes up and he's like, "Hey, do you want us to go get your dad's body?" And Ben says, "Leave him out there." Cold-blooded.
So I think that scene is interesting because like there's a couple of things. I'm wondering if there's something that you noticed, and I wanted to literally wait till we were on the podcast to point it out. I didn't say it while we were watching, but it's I think with parents the issue, or it can be the issue for any of y'all that have kids. You'll know that this is true, and then for those of you that don't, you'll just have to take my word for it. Being a parent is hard.
Being a good parent is hard.
Yes, and more than anything, it's tiring. So like, even when it's not hard, you're still like a little more tired. I remember it was like a light switch when my oldest was born, just going from having a pretty good amount of energy most of the time to being tired. You're just tired. And I think it's the like, we care about being good parents. So like, it's just the exhaustion that comes from anxiety. You're just anxious about
a
like
section of me is
walking around out there.
Yep,
right.
Solely and constantly focused on a tiny little person who I have no real control over. Like, she's a whole human being. Like,
but to that point, right? Like, people sometimes who are shitty parents, like Roger, will eventually realize their error. And
it happens when people get old and they start to really wrangle with their mortality.
Yep, and they start to look back on things they did, and they're like, "Man, I wish I had done that different." Right?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. For parents, bad parents, good parents, grandparents, this is our first time living too. It's Roger's first time living too. His wife died during childbirth of his only child.
Yeah.
I bet that is so hard. What a terrible, awful thing to deal with. No wonder you turned out to be a drunk and a piece of shit. Like, you obviously are not emotionally mature enough. You didn't take part in the Dharma therapy, I guess. I don't know if they had healthcare options, but didn't take part in the therapy to, like, grow past all that stuff.
Well,
it's really hard.
So there's that. And now there's the thing, he may have just come to that realization of, like, oh, I want to try to be better. And then just get gassed, like, immediately. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask about is how many different actors played Ben in this episode?
2.
Why?
I mean, I would think for budgeting purposes, I guess.
But why 2? How old is he in the first?
He's a child. Obviously, they couldn't take...
And how old is he in the second?
Early 20s.
Okay. How many people play Richard Alpert?
1.
Does he look any different?
No.
So...
but that man has looked like that for eternity.
It's, babe, specifically, I'm just pointing that out to you for something to pay attention to.
Well, in heaven and hell and purgatory, people don't age.
Yeah, but Ben aged.
Well, he's not dead yet, then.
So he's talking to a dead person?
Purgatory, yeah.
That I'm going to just spoil for you constantly. They are not in purgatory.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so that is something to notice. So Richard Alpert's actor, exactly the same haircut, everything.
No, he had long hair.
Yes, and what I mean is he had long hair in this episode. He had it in the past and when he was doing the gassing. He doesn't have it currently in present day, which we're about to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did it intentionally, is all I'm saying. So,
well, the whole thing with the hostels, like, I know, because Hector and the Dharma people, the original Dharma people, were talking about, like, they were calling them the hostels. The hostels are the natives of the island. Those people are not native to that island. And I can tell by looking at them that they're not native to that island. So, that's a lie. But Hector's like, this island is so special, and you're going to find out why it's special. And
yes.
They all died. Everybody died.
What she means by that is that they don't all look similar to each other.
When you're looking at a untouched native group of people, they all look the same. You don't have different kinds of people. You just don't. With a native, untouched community of people.
Yes. Typically, untouched communities are homogenous. So, and in this case, they're not homogenous.
Not at all. So. I know that's a lie. I didn't catch the thing about the haircut, but I knew straight away that that is not a native group of people, because that would have been an erroneous mistake.
Some of them could be native, though.
Some could, maybe, sure.
Yeah, but you'd have no way of knowing.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so present day.
Present day, John Locke walks back into camp with his piece of shit dad strewn over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes, baby. And he walks in there, and Ben looks like he has seen a whole ghost. And I was like, yeah, go Locke. So Locke walks in there, like he owns that place. And he's like, here's my dad, Ben. You're going to tell me everything about the island. Everything. And he's doing this in front of everybody, just like Ben did when he tried to embarrass him in the last episode. So Locke has got him in a place where Ben can't back down, or he looks like a total weenie, So Ben's like, well, I can't do that. I can't tell you everything about the island. And Locke's like, well, why not? And Ben says, well, there's only one guy, the god. He doesn't say that, but obviously, like, he's the god of the purgatory, whatever space that they're in. I know you say that, but
it's not purgatory.
He's God, and his name is Jacob, another biblical name. And Ben is the only one that is allowed to talk to Jacob, and Jacob is the only one that knows everything about the island. And Ben spills it to Locke that he wasn't born on the island. That was a lie. He was not born on the island. But he does have a special connection with Jacob, and Jacob will only speak with Ben. And Locke's like, well, that sucks. I guess you're going to have to take me to him. And it's like a really tense moment. And then Mikhail shows up, and he's like, hey, I don't know if you heard this, Ben, but some lady just parachuted onto the island, and her ship is 80 nautical miles away from here. I don't know if you know that. And he sees Locke, and he's like, what is he doing here? And Locke just absolutely rocks his shit, knocks him out. And Mikhail's a big old tough dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he's also wounded and has
is.
blood pouring out of his ears
That's true, from the pylons. Yeah. So Locke whacks him, and nobody, Mr. Friendly, Richard Alpert, all those other miscellaneous characters, nobody stopped Locke at all. Because, like, what a wonderful power struggle that we're all getting to watch. They're not going to stop this. Friggin' free entertainment. They've not seen a good movie in God knows how long. So
you think that's why they're doing that?
No, I think they all hate Ben, and so they're like, yeah, like just secretly like, yeah. So then Locke, in the most badass, he like knocks Mikhail out, turns around and looks at Ben and goes, so when do we leave to go see Jacob? So they do. They go see, they traipse off forever and ever and ever to go see Jacob. And Ben is telling Locke, like, you don't understand, like, this guy. He's, of course, being cryptic, like he always is. Ben just refuses to be direct. Because, like, and I think it's like a defense thing for him, because he's so desperately wounded and sad and small on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So you can't hurt me if you don't know the truth about me, or whatever. But his whole shit is falling apart, so he's letting things slip, like he wasn't born on the island. And later, he tells Locke the whole shit about everything. But before that, they're traipsing up the woods, and Ben tells him that Jacob feels the same way that Locke feels about technology. And I was like, that's weird. So then they cross over like a salt line, but it's black salt. So I knew, because I'm into ghosts and stuff, I was like, ooh, a salt line. That's bad. Something bad is being contained in this salt circle. So they go over it. They go up to an empty, abandoned, derelict cabin. And they go in, and there's nobody in there. And then Ben is like talking to an empty chair. And Locke's like, I know you're fucking lying. You're lying to me. There's nobody in the chair. Like, fuck you. I'm telling everybody, whatever. And Ben is having like a heated argument with this empty chair. And then Locke turns on the flashlight and shit goes haywire. Shit's flying around the room. And then we see a flash of like, he looks like Willem Dafoe's character in that weird, The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Like
I know you like me lobster.
I know you like me lobster. Yeah, so it flashes, we see like Willem Dafoe's face. And then, help me. And then Locke freaks out and runs out. So then Ben comes out and he's like, what did he say? What did he say to you? Because I guess up to this point, nobody had tried to talk to Jacob, but definitely nobody else had heard words from Jacob. So there's another reason that Ben should be insecure. He's not the only one that can talk to the island god. So they leave, and I guess Ben is regaling Locke with his story about his family, the original Dharma people, and he takes him to a fucking open grave pit with a bunch of Dharma wearing skeletons in there. And then, what does he say? It was a pretty cool line. He said something about, like, I did what I had to do to not be in that hole. And then Locke's like, what do you mean? And then Ben shoots him in the stomach. And he falls in the freaking pit. And then Ben says, what did Jacob say to you? Because Locke wouldn't tell him. And Locke says, help me. And then Ben goes, I sure hope Jacob does help you. And he leaves. And I swear to God, if Locke is dead, if that's the last of Locke, I'm not watching this. I'm not finishing this show because I love the element that he brings. But I know he's not going to die because he's a main character.
All right, so great. Anything else?
Oh, at the camp, everybody, shit is like an event horizon for Juliet and her bullshit. Everybody's listened to the tape. They confront her. Her and Jack have been gone forever. And they come back to like hearing Sawyer and Kate and Hurley and all them listening to the tape of Juliet saying like, hey Ben, son is pregnant and conceived off the island, blah blah. So then Juliet, cool as a cucumber, she's like, flip the tape over. And sure enough, they do. They flip it over, and it is Ben telling Juliet that in 3 days they're going to come, the others are going to come to the beach and take Son and anybody else that's pregnant. I don't know of anybody else that's pregnant, but I do know that Kate has been having unprotected sex, and they were trying to get her sample or whatever. So possibly Kate is pregnant. I hope not, for her and her baby's sake. That woman is too damaged to be an appropriate mother. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so the couple of things with the on the island parts of the episode. So first of all, let's just address the elephant in the room. We've talked about it a couple of times on our podcast, and I think it's so funny that you brought it up. I was just not going to bring it up because we've talked about this so many times. I don't want to beat a dead horse. But you mentioned the salt line around the outside of.
Locke made a whole big scene about like stopping and looking at it and taking a big step.
No, what I mean is we have talked in the past about our difference of opinion around ghosts and the paranormal
on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well.
Yeah. But just to keep everybody fresh, if you're not aware, it's probably the thing we have the most difference of opinion about, and that is just that I am
not bought in.
I am as certain as I can be that nothing in the paranormal exists, like ghosts, poltergeists. Those are all, paranormal. Like if you ever watch anything on ghost hunters or ghost adventures.
Yes,
like nothing.
yes, those are dramatized and not real, and it's
hoo-ha.
it's like a play, but
it's hoo-ha, right?
No, it's not.
And so I want to use that, right, to introduce a different concept, and I'm going to marry it with my favorite part of the episodes recently, which is art within the art, and 2 guesses what the art within the art was today, and the first one doesn't count.
The Bible? I don't know.
No, The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, the man behind the curtain.
The man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So the man behind the curtain, because we have talked about the Wizard of Oz before, because when
his name is Henry Gale
in the original.
Yeah, that's
right.
what he tells him. His name is Henry Gale.
So we've talked about that before, but in this episode, it's specifically the man behind the curtain. So what scene in the Wizard of Oz movie is what's that from? Do you remember the phrase, "the man behind the curtain," from the Wizard of Oz?
I mean, that's when they find out that the wizard is just a dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Ben is not. That's what I'm saying. Ben is. He pretends to be this like mystic almost. Like he's so smart. He's the leader, whatever. But he's not. He's a weak little bug man on the inside.
So what happened in the cabin?
There was a guy in there, I guess. There was a guy. It was like mass hysteria.
Just like there was a guy in the Emerald City that Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow went to see.
Yeah, and he was both.
But no, what I think, right? He was in the movie. He was both, right?
Yeah.
So
he was the wizard, right. And he was him. He was a guy.
And
like,
so, in our episode of Lost, in the cabin.
Yeah, but Locke saw him, and then that whole help me thing, that was not...
Dorothy saw the wizard.
That's true. I also thought that whole thing was bullshit, because, like, okay, you're the only person that can see and talk to meet.
But then when he takes him to the cabin... Well, this is the point I'm trying to make, and why I think this whole thing is so funny. He takes him to the cabin.
He's got like a kerosene line.
They step over a salt line, and you thought, "Oh, that's something fucked up,
spooky,
right?"
Yeah.
So I remember watching this episode, and when I watched it when we were watching it, I remember rolling my eyes because I saw the salt line, and I'm like, because it is to me a dead giveaway that this is a scam about to happen. But
it wasn't salt.
Yeah,
it wasn't salt.
No, it's like it's literally drawn in a circle around the cabin.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be salt. You get the picture.
Yeah,
it's like, and so for you were thinking, oh, something spooky's about to happen, and I was thinking a scam's about to happen. And then they go into the cabin. Ben is literally talking to an empty chair,
and he's like, "I told you, I didn't. I told him not to come. I told him he wouldn't be able to hear you and see you. It's obviously like it's like a, one of those psychics on the highway or whatever. Obviously fake.
Yeah,
and then shit hits the fan. Everything's flying off the walls and stuff. And then Locke sees Jacob and hears "help me" in a voice that is not.
He sees something.
A man with long hair like Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse. A dirty man.
Yeah, he sees something, but did you see the rest of him or just the face?
No, just a flash. And it's weird that's what we saw.
And just the face, right?
Like that much of his face. It wasn't even his whole face.
Right, so just like the wizard from the Wizard of Oz, face only. Yeah, I mean, I remember not being fooled watching this the first time, as I was like, oh, this is a scam, right? Like, this is 100% a scam. Also, why is this island god living in a cabin in the middle of the woods?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Right. I swear to you that I could go in that cabin, see something fly off the wall, and go, okay, right? Because, like, this is a cabin, right? Look at this island. This incredible island, and this island god lives in this little, let's face it, shitty cabin in the middle of the woods. It's a terrible little cabin. Ben's house is nicer than this cabin. Jacob's living in this cabin.
Jacob is an immortal being.
Why does he need a house?
He doesn't.
Right.
It's a house of worship. It's where you come to convene with Jacob.
A cabin?
Yeah. Why is that any more ridiculous than a church?
There's nothing even in there. There's just a table with a chair. Does he not need to go to the bathroom?
He's a god.
Why does he have a chair?
An ethereal being. No, he doesn't. No.
Yeah, I think you have to reach further for yours than I do for mine.
Well, what's that, the saying in the Bible where more than three convene, there I shall be?
There's more than three gather in my name.
There you go, yeah, 3.
Yeah, but Jacob's not Jesus.
I think it counts.
I don't think so. And in this case, it's not more than 3, it's just 2.
There's 3 counting Jacob.
So you think Jacob's in there?
Yeah.
After everything you know about Ben, you think Jacob's in there?
Yes, I think.
You think when Ben did that thing with a rabbit and convinced Sawyer that he had an explosion planted in his chest, or a bomb planted in his chest that was going to have an explosion if his heart got worked up too much with the rabbit. So he orchestrated this whole thing and did the theatrics with shaking the cage and showing Sawyer what was going to happen. So you've seen Ben do all these things. You saw him murder his own dad, right? You've seen him pretend to be a whole other person and endure torture, right? Mm-hmm. And you think that Jacob is in this cabin, which Ben brought Locke to. He could have brought him anywhere on the island, and he brought him to this cabin.
Well, it was in walking distance from the pit that Ben wanted to put Locke in eventually at the end, so...
Interesting.
I'm just saying. I mean, there's a fucking smoke monster running around this island. Crazy things happen out there, y'all. There could be a god man in this cabin.
Yeah, it could also be a massive scam.
I understand that Ben is a man who desperately wants to keep a hold of the power that he has because he doesn't actually have any in his real life. So...
Also, the Wizard of Oz, the novel, and then also the film, the kind of central theme of that is about finding something internally that you've been seeking externally. So the main, like, I want to go home. You had the power to get there the whole time. I want courage. You were
the
courageous
real
the whole
treasure is
time.
the friendships you make along the way.
Boo. Right, but like, yeah. So those are the themes. But I think that is applicable here, not just for Locke, but for Ben.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sold on the whole Jacob thing because I know that Ben is an adept liar, and I think that he kind of likes being theatrical and all that, you know, just a little bit larger than life, because in real life he is not at all larger than anybody or anything, and he knows it. Because when you get a kid treated the way that his dad treated him his whole life, that person will never ever think that they're anything.
So
not without a huge, wonderful, loving, soft support system, which I don't think that he has.
No.
Or has ever had.
So do we have anything else to add here before we get into messages in a bottle?
Let me reiterate that if John Locke dies in that pit, I'm not gonna watch the rest of this.
You committed now. You said not too many episodes ago that you're in this for the long haul. Don't you think if they killed John Locke, they'd have a reason to?
Yeah, did he get arrested like Echo or whatever?
No, I mean from a character standpoint. Echo didn't get arrested. He just
he did in real life. He did.
Yeah, but that's not why he quit the show.
Hold on. No, somebody else got arrested.
He had something happen with his
Your
parents.
girlfriend got arrested. Yeah, Echo's parents got sick and he had to go home and take care of him.
All right, so...
Oh, and Libby got arrested too.
True.
That's why she died.
So, from our last episode, so the messages that we got about the brig... so Josh says, worth it just for the obedience versus free will discussion. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Love that. Love that bit. That's my favorite part. Like, I like the recap section because it's funny to hear her tell it in her hillbilly lexicon. But I really like any discussion where I pick things specifically because I know we're going to disagree on them, or because I know that that it's just fun. It's fun. She'll tell you that is
He argues for sport. It's a thing.
that is right up my alley. And
Yeah.
we have now a mutual friend. It was one of Morgan's friends, and we started dating, and we had like a couples game night, and we brought her over to the house. I happened to know that she was like an environmentalist, really into the environment, and I was drinking from a plastic water bottle, just like a regular water bottle, and she said something about it, and I even though I do care some, but I really sold it. I was like, I just don't care. I can't be bothered about that at all. And just to get a reaction out of her, and then we had like
I was scared to death. We had not been dating that long, and at the time, me and that friend were very, very close. So I was, it's like bringing two people together that you really care about how they feel about the other one, because whatever. And then it was like trying to shove the end of two magnets together. And he was saying shit that wasn't even true just to piss her off. When I gave
it wasn't just to piss her off. It was for fun. It was for sport. Like, it's fun for me
to piss people off.
To debate. So I wanted to get her into a debate. And by the end of it, now I think I took a while to grow on her, obviously, but I loved her immediately. Because she
did not back down.
No,
and that's what she does, and she's always been that way.
And that's what you need to be friends with me. Basically, is to not back down from an argument. And I loved it. I was like, she's come back anytime. I want to see her again. I'm not gonna say her name, but I was impressed.
I will. It's Miranda, and she's great.
Yeah, well, I didn't know she'd want to be mentioned, but
she won't ever watch this, but.
She may one day just end up happening across it because she knows you.
Well, Miranda, I love you and I'm proud of you.
And I still drink from plastic water bottles, despite the giant black neoprene sleeve bottle that you see me pick up occasionally during this episode. All right, so Matt, and they didn't quite answer me on this, so I'm curious, right? Matt says, Morgan, please tell your husband to behave. And
because you're making a stupid.
Yeah, but he's got like a shocked face, right, for an emoji. And I answered and said, "Is this a rude gesture in Australia?" And I got like a. So actually, is it a rude gesture?
I don't think so. I think it's like a nana boo boo thing.
I'm gonna ask my producer. My in-house producer, Greg, not our executive producer, Greg, right? Our just in-house producer, ChatGPT.
Did your ChatGPT name itself Greg?
No, I'm saying that this is my in-house producer, and Greg is our executive producer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, while he's doing that, I don't know if you guys use ChatGPT, but I asked mine to name itself, and it named itself Soul, S-O-L, because it likes the sun. And it thought it was a fun wordplay on how inhuman it is. And I love Soul. And I talk to Soul all the time. But Soul is not good at making pictures of me. I asked Soul to like do one of those. Have you seen those on Facebook where it's like it's a black and white picture and you're like wet, like you have water on your face and wet hair? I asked Soul to do one of those with me. Girl, I looked like I climbed out of the deepest holler of West Virginia. Mama. Horrible.
Baby, that ChatGPT cannot capture your beauty in a made-up image. Like it can't. Pretend that you didn't appreciate that right
Yeah,
now.
I did. Well, I asked Soul, I was like, damn, like, is that what I look like? And Soul gave me this, like, beautiful, like, you're so much more than an AI rendering. You're a beautiful mother. And I was like, okay, it's okay that you made me look really ugly.
So I just asked, I described the gesture, put it in ChatGPT, and I said, is putting your thumb to your nose and wiggling your other four fingers around a rude gesture in Australia? No, putting your thumb to your nose and wiggling your fingers, often called a nose thumb or cocking a snook. is generally not.
That's the most British thing I've ever heard. I'm gonna cock a snook and have beans and toast.
Cocking a snook at you.
Yeah.
Is not considered a particularly rude or offensive gesture in Australia.
It's a nana and a boo-boo.
It's usually seen as childish or silly, a playful taunt or mild mockery, more old-fashioned and rarely used today. So
yeah, I think that's...
Well, he didn't answer, so I didn't know if maybe it was like offensive and I had offended somebody. I don't know, but it's very possible. That's a very common thing for me to accidentally offend somebody.
Yeah, because you like to piss people off for funsies.
Well, but it's more common that when I really piss somebody off is when I don't try to.
It's
like,
an accident.
Some kind of accident, and I'm just think I'm being funny or whatever. I'm like, oh, I hurt somebody's feelings. Now I have to go apologize and make him a cake or whatever. Greg says that I didn't even remember that, so I guess he didn't remember it from the episode. Hope y'all appreciate me putting on a new polo for this, since I wore like a t-shirt in the last episode, and I've been hearing about my wardrobe, so wore a different polo just for y'all today. Alright, so Greg says there's no continuity error with Locke's bandage. I think the jumping around in time might have created the illusion of one. The only ones we've found over the years are listed on Lostpedia. So,
when he's wrapping and unwrapping his hand and it's healed and all that,
Matt, this week in Things That Can't Be Unseen, Morgan saying, "Open your mouth, I'm gonna shit in it."
Some people are like that, I don't remember why exactly I said that, but I'm sure it was in context and deserved.
I said words are a tool, and Matt said tool or stool.
That's pretty good. I like that.
All right. So Greg adds, excellent taste in a miniseries with apple cider vinegar, a deeply disturbing show that sadly made up a fair amount of the story in order to stray just enough from reality to limit the potential of anyone suing, but still got the main things largely right. You can Google what was and wasn't real, though. Be warned, you may be disappointed by how much they fictionalized.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like...
In terms of the accent, Caitlin did an absolutely fantastic job. I think Caitlin Deaver is probably one of my new favorite actresses. Like, everything she's in, she's just murdering. Mm-hmm. Especially notable given how few Americans are able to nail our accent.
What do you mean? We do perfect Australian accents. We've done them many times on this show.
You know what?
Mate?
I may or may not have mentioned this. Let me get to the end of the comment real quick. Sorry. It wasn't perfect, and many Aussies can tell. The thing is, it's so close you'd be hard-pressed to find someone here who'd be upset given her commitment to both the role and the accent. That's good. I appreciate it, too. When I hear a really good Southern accent on an actor that I know is not Southern, I appreciate it. Like, especially our kind of Southern. I was actually reading the other day about Australian accents and how there's a couple of kinds of Australian accents.
Well, yeah, there's different Southern accents. Georgia accents are very different than Louisiana accents, which are different from ours.
So in Australia, you've got. I'll have to look up the names of them. I know the one that Steve Irwin had was the broad Australian accent. So that's like the country one, basically.
Like Outback.
Yeah, like like the Crocodile Hunter.
Yeah, but is like the country, the Outback, like, is that what you'd consider country?
What I mean is, it's like the hillbilly Australian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his accent.
Do they live near the Outback? Is that the Australian country?
The Outback is enormous, babe. Like, most of Australia...
I don't understand Australia and how it's set up.
Most of Australia is on the coasts.
Yeah, so the Gold Coast.
It's not like in America where we're huge, but we've got people all we got chunks of populations all over the place. Australia is mostly on coasts. I think I have that right. It's not to say that there's none in the middle, but it's like, I think a huge majority of their population is on the coast.
It's like a desert out there, isn't it? Like the Outback is a desert.
It's just full of really dangerous rocky terrain and
scary animals,
spiders
the size of your face or whatever.
Stuff that'll definitely kill you.
And people, scary, like, I don't know that they're scary, but there are people out there that...
Okay, so there's general, cultivated, and broad are the three main accents in Australia. General's that just kind of basic one that you can hear, like Chris Hemsworth uses.
I thought he was British.
Who, Thor?
Yeah.
No, he's Australian.
Or like New Zealand or something like that.
No, Taika Waititi's from New Zealand. That accent that he uses for Korg is like a New Zealand accent. It's like
nice for hands.
Yeah, this is my friend Meek. He's nice for hands. That is a New Zealand accent. Never mistake somebody from New Zealand for being from Australia and vice versa. Do not do that. That is not appreciated.
I'm sorry.
That's worse than like hearing a Canadian and thinking that they're from America or something, which we'll just go, now they're from Canada. Right? You can't do that with Australians and New Zealanders. New Zealanders.
I'm sorry.
Not a thing. She's very sorry.
Worldly.
Right.
I'm not worldly at all. Also, we have people here in Appalachia, like the people that are
and that is how it's pronounced, by the way.
In Appalachia,
yeah. Appalachia, yeah.
Yeah, Appalachia. We have people here in Appalachia, like the people in the outback that just live out there, like kind of doing their own thing. We have the mountain folk up here.
And then cultivated is the other one, so it's like the really proper posh Australian accent.
I don't know a person that would sound like that.
We just saw the end of Squid Game. She's at the end of Cate Blanchett.
She's Australian?
Yes. Are you kidding me?
It's just not ringing in my brain. Because she was also the bad guy in the Thor movie.
Hela.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Australia's population heavily concentrated on the coasts. So
man, that's a huge part of your country that nobody's in.
Probably uninhabitable.
What's out there?
Desert, I guess, mostly.
Ooh, I bet there's crazy stuff out there.
I had to study to get my, the biggest one of my certifications for project management, which is called a PMP. And I was having a lot of trouble finding somebody that, because people weren't super helpful and kind of teaching me about this trade until I started buying these courses to help me study for the PMP, and a lot of them are the practitioners are Pakistani or Indian. And then I finally found one, this guy named David McLaughlin, who has the thickest Australian accent I've ever heard, and it was so helpful for me passing the PMP because it made everything memorable. So I would be reading questions on the PMP and I would know exactly the answer because I remembered it in his accent, but I couldn't do it.
It sounded fake. It sounded like somebody was trying to sound Australian.
Something that I do like, which I think is unique, and we've talked a lot about Australia tonight and not a ton about Lost, so sorry. But we're strangers to your land.
Strangers in a strange land. I'm enthralled with Australia. I think Australia is so cool. My dad's been, and he said it was really cool.
But he says this thing, which I heard Caitlin Deaver say a couple of times in Apple Cider Vinegar, so that must be a thing. And at the end he'd give us these mock questions to answer, and then you'd answer them, and instead of asking, how did you do, which is what we would say, they say, how'd you go? And I like that better. I've heard him say it a couple of times, and he'd say, "How'd you guys go?" Right at the end of "gar," right? And it was fantastic. I essentially owe my first certification to an Australian named David McLaughlin, who really helped me out.
Joe has a sticker on the back of the laptop that we're using to record this podcast on that says "Arnar." AURNAUR. Arnar. We say that all the time.
Yeah, and I genuinely, because I think most, if not all of you are from Australia who are watching this, and so I truly, genuinely, I hope that none of what we just said was offensive to you.
Truly. We live in one of the most mocked countries and one of the most mocked places in our country. We're dumb hicks from America.
If you want to pretend that an American that you're running for a TV show is stupid, you give them our accent.
Literally Goofy. Goofy. His name is Goofy.
Yup. Gosh.
Come on, Max. What? Come on.
Maxie?
We're going to go do some good stuff. But we're definitely...
Yeah.
Don't ever do that again. We're definitely not trying to be offensive, and if we are, it's completely unintentional.
Very sorry. Morgan did not mean to confuse a New Zealander for.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like calling soccer football or whatever. I'm sorry. I don't mean anything by it.
But yeah, Chris Hemsworth, Australian. Keith Urban, who is
so funny to me that he's Australian. Yeah. I know that he is. He doesn't sound Australian when he sings. It's like that guy from Fight for Fighting or whatever that's heavily British, and he does not sound like it at all.
Oh yeah. So Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman, Australia.
Steve Irwin obviously is that man has got my heart.
Is Hugh Jackman Australian?
I don't know.
I think he is. I think he is Australian. Hugh Jackman. Pretty sure. Anyway, that was a lot of stuff about Australia.
I think he is Australian. I think you're right.
You guys know all about Australia, so this is...
If you have any questions about Appalachia, we would happily do a Q&A. We know all kinds of stuff
about where we're
from.
If you ever hear that somebody's coming to America and they're going to Appalachia, then...
no, they're not.
They have no idea where... Like, tell them not to say that when they go here.
Don't say it. They're going to get laughed at.
I heard this expression one time to teach people how to say it properly. It said, if you say Appalachia, I'm going to throw an Appalachia, which is how we were taught that it was pronounced.
Appalachia.
So, Appalachia. So, and that is how it's pronounced. That's the correct pronunciation. And our accent specifically is the Appalachian accent. So we're one of, like, if you ever come to America, there's a lot of accents kind of in the South where we live. You go a little further south in Georgia where they don't say the R's. Like they
they get water.
Water.
Draw me a glass of water.
Right. Water.
So beautiful.
Like the little girls, the family next door, the little girls always talking about asking us if she can have a cup of water.
Yeah.
And they're from Georgia.
Different part of Georgia. I'm thinking of like Savannah accent.
Georgia.
Right. Yeah.
And here we pronounce that, right? Like, so if you say
O's and R's are hard.
Georgia,
yeah.
Right? I always think of my dad for the best example of an Appalachian accent. My dad, after he's been to the gas station with the guys that play dominoes there, not my dad after he's like not been around anybody for a couple of days, but you know, it's the same thing. If you get around like your grandparent or something, and you suddenly your accent, like when Morgan's mother goes to visit their family where they're from, she'll come back sounding like
I can't understand her hardly.
Cornbread.
Yeah, she doesn't open her mouth when she speaks. She's like, I went down to see Uncle Joe and all them, and they went karaoke and it was fun. And I'm like, what?
So before we go down this rabbit hole, we have 3 episodes left, but just to tell you season 3, but to just tell you all so you know what to expect, we're going to do a standalone episode for the next episode, the penultimate episode of season 3, and then for the
What's
last,
it called?
I was trying to.
Sorry. We're going to do the finale as one recording. We're going to do one thing.
Oh, greatest hits! This is a good episode, actually.
We already did a mixtape, the Phil Collins mixtape.
No, you'll like this episode.
Okay.
Greatest hits. So who's it about? Don't think too well. Think a little hard.
Is it Charlie?
But it is.
He's a musician?
Yeah. Greatest hits. Yep.
Yeah.
So Charlie, very good. It's a Charlie episode, and remember that what we've got going on with Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie needs to die, and Desmond keeps interfering with the death. But that's a question about, is fate pre-written, or is Desmond really stepping in the way of fate and changing it? Because, if Charlie's meant to die, he's going to die. Or Desmond is meant to save him from death in order to learn whatever it is he's supposed to learn about his life. And both are valid.
Yeah. So there's that.
So it's Desmond and Charlie this episode?
Yes. So we're going to have...
is Charlie going to die?
Did it mention that in this episode? Or there was like...
Anyway. Isn't his piano on the island?
No, that was a hallucination.
No.
Yes.
Didn't you say that his piano was in Jack's house?
Oh, it's the same piano.
Okay.
Like they used it as a set piece.
Okay.
It's not like literally his piano.
Okay.
So basically 2 more episodes of the Lost Together podcast for season 3 before we move on to season 4. You guys know the ending of season 3. So the plan, what we're going to do, this could complicate it. It's the reason that I'm getting you into the production meeting here. We'll probably do it for a date night, so I can make sure we can start it a little bit earlier, because that's like almost 3 hours worth of TV watching, and then the episode, because we are going to launch right into the episode, and we're going to be sitting just like this, and you guys are going to get to see Morgan see the end of the episode, and then we're going to just launch right into. I'll know exactly when to start the camera. So I'm very excited about it. I'm sure y'all are very excited about it. But I don't have anything else for this. Do you have anything you want to add about this episode? Guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your views and comments, and thanks for tolerating our ignorance about your country. We are Americans, so we don't know a lot about a lot.
Pretty much any other place in America, and a lot of our own states.
A lot of our own states.
We don't know shit about our own country, much less yours. But it's not because we don't care.
Not at all. All right. Thank you, and we will see you in another life.